this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those monstrous and gigantic tomahawk cut and cowboy cut ribeyes. Boy, those are the best I've ever had. Probably the best you've ever had as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call. Find out what's for dinner. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. Yes! And a big welcome in, everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. All of our independents as well. Plus Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, and WOW Cable Television affiliates in select markets. Thanks for joining us also on Hotel Television in all Nielsen-rated markets and over 500,000 rooms. Thanks for joining us there. And Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. That's Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right. And jumping right into it, we're gonna go across the pond over into Paris. We're going to check that out. How about the Paris Olympics 2024? And, of course, there's always controversy every time the Olympics shows up, right? This is just what happens every 2 years, right? So every 2 years, we'll have an alternating. It's either the summer or winter. This time it's the summer, and the 2026 Winter Olympics, of course, are around the corner. But let's focus on Paris and 2024. How about this one? And we're going to start this out with a terrible chorus of boos. Transgender middle distance runner Nikki Hiltz qualifies with a record-breaking 1,500-meter time. Now, this is according to CBS Sports. That's where we got this one from. And, of course, Hiltz broke the record recently, the final day of, oh, how convenient, the prior month, and will be heading to Paris with the previous record holder. This is crazy. I'm sorry, folks, but this is wrong, in my opinion, on every level. So, according to CBS Sports, Nikki Hiltz, an American transgender middle-distance runner, qualified for the 2024 Olympics in the women's 1,500-meter final, running a record-breaking time of 3 hours. Actually, strike that. It should have been 3 hours, if you know what I mean. No. 3 minutes, 55 seconds, dot 53 100ths of a second. And the record was previously held by Ella St. Pierre, who ran 3:58.03 at the 2021 track and field trials. She ran 3:58.03. Now, Hiltz reflected on the achievement in an Instagram post, writing in part, quote, "Yesterday afternoon in Eugene, Oregon, a childhood dream of mine came true. I'm not sure when this will fully sink in. All I know is today I'm waking up just so grateful for my people, overwhelmed by all the love and support, and filled with the joy that I get to race people I deeply love and respect around a track for a living," close quote. Shut up! Give me a damn break. Right, this is in case you're just tuning in, the transgender middle distance runner Nikki Hiltz was speaking about this qualifying time. Anyway, so Hiltz previously won a silver medal in the 1,500 meters at the Indoor World Championships just a few months back, and they will now be headed to their first Olympic Games, and of course they will be joined by Emily McKay, who came in second at 3:55.9. and St. Pierre, who finished third with a time of 3:55.99. And the time distance, you're talking 3:58. 1 second and change is the difference. And, of course, Hiltz told NBC, quote, "This is bigger than just me. It's the last day of Pride Month, and I wanted to run this one for my community. All the LGBTQ folks, you guys brought me home that last 100. I just feel the love and support." To be going with these two, I mean, St. Pierre has elevated women's distance running. I saw the time, and I didn't think that was possible. We all had to rise because of her. And this is an awesome, awesome team we're sending to Paris. Close quote. Really? Which team are we talking about? Now, of course, at the Olympics, the women's 1500 begins at August 6th at 4:05 a.m. Eastern Time. So, look, we have a lot to unpack here. So let's just do this. Let's get away from this particular one, and let's go to Newsweek and the rules for transgender Olympic athletes as explained. Now, mind you, this is as of today. So, ahead of the 2024 Summer Olympic Games, transgender athletes continue to face restrictions in some sports. Debates around transgender athletes have soared in recent years, with conservatives arguing against the participation of transgender athletes, arguing it allows for an unfair advantage as athletes gear up to head for the 2024 Summer Games in Paris, which will begin July 26 through August 11. Transgender athletes are facing restrictions in some sports. Now, according to International Olympic Committee, which recently updated its guidelines in January regarding the participation of transgender athletes in the Olympic Games, allow individual sports to determine whether trans athletes can compete. Give me a damn break. Now, the committee had said, quote, "This framework recognizes both the need to ensure that everyone, irrespective of their gender identity or sex variations, can practice sport in a safe, harassment-free environment that recognizes and respects the needs and identities." Close quote. However, since the IOC allowed individual sports to set their own policies on trans participation, multiple sports have updated their policies largely in relation to trans women. Okay. Transition age required for Paris 2024 Olympics. The new guidelines require transgender women to have completed their transition before the age of 12 to be eligible to compete in the women's categories. And this rule is intended to prevent any perceived unfair advantage that might arise from undergoing male puberty. Now, in addition, at least 10 Olympic sports have restricted the participation of transgender athletes. These include sports like cycling, swimming, rugby, rowing, and boxing. So, the World Athletes and International Cycling Union, that'd be the World Athletics and International Cycling Union, have both set stringent criteria that generally excludes transgender women who transition after puberty from participating in women's events. Additionally, some sports like cycling have introduced open categories where both male identifying and transgender athletes can compete. According to Context News, World Rowing had issued a near blanket ban on participation of trans women in female categories. The world bodies for athletics, swimming, rugby, and cricket have banned trans women from competing in female categories if they underwent puberty before starting their transition. In addition, governing bodies for the triathlon, tennis, and archery require testosterone levels to be suppressed with a specified limit. Now, of course, this all comes as the IOC has previously issued guidelines in 2015 that put a limit on athletes' testosterone levels that require some of them to undergo treatment or treatments the IOC now describes as medically unnecessary. And it specifically allowed any transgender athlete to compete as women as long as their testosterone levels were below 10 nanomoles per liter for at least 12 months before their first competition, which makes very little sense to me. Of course, physical transition requirements, in addition to before 2016, the IOC requires athletes to undergo genital surgery, and the restrictions continue following New Zealand weightlifter Laurel Hubbard, who became one of the first transgender athletes to compete in the Olympics at the Tokyo Olympics in 2021. More recently, American swimmers Leah Thompson, who became the first trans athlete to win a National Collegiate Athletic Association title in 2022, launched legal action against the World Aquatics after its updated policy excluded her from competing in the Olympics. And of course, this comes as a proponent of allowing transgender athletes to compete according to their gender identities, argument that sports should be inclusive and accessible to all regardless of the gender identity, emphasizing the importance of equality and non-discrimination, pointing out that transgender athletes often face significant barriers in sports, including societal stigma and discrimination. Of course, in the United States, the issue has been left up for the states to decide, with over 20 states with policies that vary from others. What a disaster. I'm going to give a little bit of commentary on that when we come back here on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss this one.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which, of course, are our podcasts, which can be heard in their entirety, uncut, unedited, on Apple, Audible, Amazon, Google, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, you name it. We're there. You can't get away from us. Also, make sure you check out the partners list over the partners page. Lots of great partners over there, too. One of those is the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. All right, welcome back to everybody listening in on our affiliates from coast to coast. Whether it's television, radio, big hello to our friends over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM. And over in Auburn, Alabama, that's WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves. Can't forget them. All the way out to the West Coast and a whole bunch of points in between. Big hello to our friends also in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA, home of the New York Yankees and the San Francisco 49ers as well. Hello to everybody also joining us on television on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, Oceanic, and WOW cable providers in select markets, and Hotel TV in all Nielsen-rated markets as well. Thanks again to everybody, even on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Make sure you like and follow, participate, have a lot of fun with it. So on the last segment, it was this transgender competition thing, right? So it's seemingly the hypersensitive, the hyper, let's make every accommodation possible. But in the meantime, let's shortchange the ladies from all of their athletic ability, from their God-given time, from the moment they were born. Oh, no, we're going to have somebody go in and make a change to their sex so they can compete against the women. So a man going in to change his sex to compete against the women apparently seems to be acceptable in today's time, which even the Olympics have made accommodations. So we don't want anybody's feelings to get hurt. But what they seem to remember is, better yet, what they seem to forget is the idea that, oh, that's right, men are born, technically, they're 40% stronger than women. And so they say, well, you're going to have to make these decisions now, at this time here and before puberty here and there or whatever. But we don't see that in NCAA competition and all this other stuff. Where does it end? Does it ever end? Is it always about somebody being hypersensitive or getting their feelings hurt or some garbage like that? I don't know. I don't really know where it ends, because most of the people listening to this show and most of the people that watch sports, generally speaking, your general sports crowd, I'm not stating a fact, I'm stating opinion, but most of the people that I know, the people that I know that go to games around stadiums across these great United States of America and around the world, most of them want to see the men compete against the men and the women compete against the women. Now, when we see the men compete against the women, that's not very fair. Now, if by chance we see a woman competing against a man, I think that's a great thing, because they're overcoming the strength, and technically they're 40% stronger than the other women. And that's how you can kind of work backwards through the math. Not that there's any rhyme or reason to it. It's just my opinion. I'm sticking to it. But it seems to be reasonable to assume that if this is the case, remember back in, I think it was 1992, there was Manon Rayon. She was a goalie that had gone through the National Hockey League draft, as I recall. And I happen to have the signed card. It is from baseball, football, basketball, hockey, and is a signed card. And Manon Rayon had signed that particular sports card as the hockey draft. Then it was in football. It was Desmond Howard out of the University of Michigan for football. And for basketball, it was Shaquille O'Neal out of LSU and Phil Nevin for Major League Baseball. And so those were the classic four-sport drafts, that card. You could find that card. So I happen to have one of the handful of cards that were actually signed by each one of these. Of course, it came with a certificate of authenticity, But, here we are 32 years later, And we still don't see the women competing in the men's sports. And I would agree that there are some women likely that are as strong or physically fit that can compete with the men. And if we're going to go there, I mean, hockey would be a good one as far as the goaltending is concerned, because it's not as if the goalies have to deal with, I mean, look, they've got to deal with the puck coming at them pretty quick, but it's not like they're getting in there and grinding away with the other forwards and defensemen and whatnot. So that seems to be reasonable. That's something I think that can happen. And I would even think in baseball, geez, I remember when I was a little kid, I remember this. My sister had a friend. Her name was Susie Simpson, and she was really good in baseball. As a matter of fact, I think I was in Little League, about 5th grade, about 11 years old. And Susie Simpson threw just as hard as the boys. She hit just as hard as the boys as far as hit the ball. She fielded the ball just as well as the boys. And so I'm thinking, we have seen some female baseball players that probably could compete with the boys. And I'm okay with the women transitioning into men's sports as athletes. I'm fine with that. I'd love to see that kind of diversity in there because, hey, these are the women that really have risen up. And imagine if we actually saw some women compete in the same way in the NBA. Because, look, the WNBA, they have their stars, but there is a big difference in height, strength, and all this other stuff. And so, I mean, maybe we have a 6'9" point guard or a shooting guard. Remember how Magic Johnson was 6'9". And so it's not often that you'll see those big 6'9" type of women out there shooting beyond the arc. And so could they play in the NBA? I don't know, but I would like to see some women that have really gone above and beyond make the transition. Hey, if you could play in the men's sport, I'm cool with that, but I don't want to see the men playing in the women's sports because the men are typically 40% stronger, and that's documented out there. So, look, we could beat this one to a pulp, but the one thing I don't like is unfair advantages, especially in sports, whether it's Little League all the way up to professional sports. Unfair advantages, we see this from the umpiring and from the officiating side of things, and that is a whole nother discussion I don't want to get into. But I did mention basketball, so I will mention this story, which we typically wouldn't, but it will be talked about here. It's because good old Mr. James, that would be LeBron James. Yes, he has a contract. He has a new contract. And nobody really cares too much outside of the organization because it's all about show me the money. Show me the money. All right. So this guy gives himself flexibility with a 2-year, $104 million deal. What about the rest of the team? You know what I mean? This is crazy. You got this guy making $52 million a year for what? For what? He's old. So he's headed back to the Lakers, blah, blah, blah. Okay, CBS Sports says he has agreed to a 2-year, $104 contract to return to the Lakers. CBS Sports insider confirmed it. And the deal will pay him maximum salary for 2024-25, but include a player option for 25-26, giving him flexibility about his future plans. Now, I wonder what that's based on. We'll get to that in a minute. The deal also includes a no-trade clause, a contractual perk that gives him, well, basically the only one he's ever had in his career. So he is reportedly still talking with the Lakers about potentially leaving $1 million or so on the table to help the Lakers stay below the second apron or retain a bit of the roster building flexibility. Oh, I'm just going to give back $1 million out of his $52 million. Yeah, think about that one. Going to give back $1 million out of $52 million. Oh boy. Just so we could try to help with the Lakers staying, I guess, below this, below this salary cap thing or whatever the hell it is. The reality is this. The price is ridiculous. This is all about being a big money grab, and I don't see it as anything else. So the price here is notable because James had previously been open to taking a significant pay cut in order to give the Lakers financial flexibility and that needed to make a meaningful upgrade, which, needless to say, that ship had sailed. Now, either through the non-taxpayer mid-level exception or some other means. Reports indicate that he was willing to take potentially, well, as much as $20 million and take it off the table, or better yet, leave it on the table, so to say, to help them improve. But what happened to that, folks? What happened? Oh, that's right. And then there's this over 38 rule we're going to get into just a little bit. You know, a guy that did the same exact thing? That was a guy by the name of Kobe Bryant. And Kobe Bryant, sorry, rest your soul, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. The reality is Kobe Bryant took a max deal and sat on the bench seemingly for half the season, make his 25 or 30 million, whatever the heck it was. I don't know. It was some crazy number. It was a max deal, and the Lakers were hamstrung, and they couldn't do anything else because that money was going to a guy basically sitting on the bench for half of the time, which is complete and utter lunacy. I mean, look, this guy was reportedly open to doing so, to leaving some money on the table to help get players like Klay Thompson or James Harden or a few other guys, whatever. But, you know, that wasn't going to happen. I mean, who really wants to play with this guy? Look, Harden and others were off the market by that point, and it was just lip service, and that's how I see it. But the Lakers reportedly were interested in DeMar DeRozan, and of course, well, is there enough money out there? Probably not, in my opinion. We're going to come back with this because this is another remarkably frustrating story that all you non-Laker fans want to hear about. Back here in just a few minutes. More basketball in a few moments. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, in case you're thinking about starting your own show, your own podcast, your own television or radio show, get in touch with us. We can help you out with that. 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935. Maybe you're interested in producing some content that, well, you think that's out there and, well, basically it's not talked about enough by people and so forth. But so go ahead and give us a call. We can help you out with that, whether it's creating content or broadcasting or distribution or editing, all kinds of neat stuff. There's lots of stuff that we can do. Give us a call, 702-799-9935. Again, give us a call at your convenience around the clock. All right, welcome back to everybody on TV and radio. In the last segment, we were talking about this new contract by Mr. James with the Lakers. And it seemed that, well, you know, he wanted to maybe join forces with this guy or that guy or whatever it is. It just seems like we're seeing the same movie that we saw with Kobe Bryant at the end of his career, just trying to milk as much as possible from the team. And so I don't really necessarily believe that James really had a big, well, I don't think he had a really big plan, except get as much money, this is my opinion, get as much money as possible from the Lakers. Oh, and by the way, maybe leave a little bit of money out there for his kid, too. Of course, his kid got that rookie contract, whatever. That's another discussion. Now, of course, he has a no-trade clause in this contract. Now, the no-trade clause is a rarity for him, but most of the time he hasn't been eligible for one. A player needs three things in order to qualify for a no-trade clause. 8 years total in the NBA, which he's got that, at least 4 with his current team. They must be signing a new contract rather than extending one. And, of course, James played the first 7 years of his career with the Cleveland Cavaliers before spending a 4-year increment with Miami. When he returned to Cleveland in 2014, those 7 years still counted, so he was indeed eligible for a no-trade clause and got one. When he was signed with the Lakers in 2018, the 4-year clock reset, so he wasn't eligible. So he had been a Laker for 6 seasons now, but had not signed a new contract at any point in that span, but rather extending the existing one. The no-trade clause is not strictly necessary for him, as a player of his stature would never be traded without consent. Of course, at the trade deadline, the Lakers were approached by the Warriors about a possible deal, but they consulted with James, who confirmed he did not want to be moved at that time, and still a player like James typically wants all of the bells and whistles on his contract, and now he has, and now he and, of course, Bradley Beal are the only players with explicit no-trade clauses in their contracts. Now, the structure of the deal is notable as well as it's given its length. So James could have signed up for 3 years and roughly $162 million. He insisted instead, and he elected to take what is effectively a 1-year deal as his player option for 2025 and 26 season, means that he can re-enter the free agent market next summer if he chooses. At that point, he'll be 40 and will have already played 1 season with his son, whom the Lakers selected the number 55 pick in the draft, in the recent draft, which in my opinion is a colossal waste of a draft pick. And it seems to be just a lot of pressure by him to bring his son there so they can be, the father-son duo, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. Well, look, we've seen enough of this in professional sports, haven't we? And, of course, if the Lakers can't find a way back in the championship picture, he now has the freedom to try to do so elsewhere. And what a surprise that would be. Let's see him jump ship. He'll jump ship and say, and basically what I'm thinking it is if his son has a bad season and the Lakers don't do anything, then his son maybe moves on and his son goes to another team, and maybe he goes on a trade or goes and signs somewhere with his son. I mean, that's what we could be looking at here, folks. Now, of course, James already has played one of the NBA's longest and most allegedly successful careers, and he is the league's all-time leading scorer. Yeah, sure, because he's played decades at this point and holds a number of other significant records as well. Yeah, well, guess what? Michael Jordan is 6-0 in the NBA Finals. Got there 6 times, won 6 times. Never faced even a Game 7 in the NBA Finals. You know why? Because he didn't have to. That's what greatness is. He is the greatest of all time. Certainly not James. Certainly not. And of course, for James, he's not going to play forever, and the short-term nature of this deal is a reminder of that. And reports have indicated that he is only planning to play a few more seasons, but on a 1-year deal, and the chance always exists that he could retire at the end of the season, and James is a Laker for now, but afterward, only question marks remain. So why are we talking about this? Well, look, here's an interesting little tidbit here. There is an over 38 rule which could actually impact this guy signing a longer-term deal. Now, listen to this. Most people don't know about this obscure rule. Well, guess what? It does exist. So the Lakers, this is according to USA Today, the Lakers officially signed forward James to a 2-year like we talked about. Okay, the second year is a player option, which we mentioned. Now, that being said, since the second year is a player option, well, James could decide to opt out of his contract, and of course, he'll be back on free agency market as we discussed. Now, a provision in the collective bargaining agreement called the over 38 rule can impact how NBA teams negotiate deals with players. Now, James turns 40 on December 30th. So, here's the language that applies to James's contract, which is under the determination of salary section of the collective bargaining agreement. Quote, the following provisions shall apply to any player contract entered into, extended, or renegotiated that, beginning with the date such as contract extension or renegotiation is signed, covers 4 or more seasons, including 1 or more season commencing after such player will reach or has reached the age 38. Close quote. Now, 6 other provisions are included in the over 38 rule, which began in 1995 as the over 35 rule. Then it morphed into the over 36 rule and had been in its current state since 2016. Now, there are ways around the over 38 rule. One is that if a team holds a player's bird rights, which allows a team to exceed the salary cap in order to re-sign a player already on the roster, and that player on October 1st is 35 years of age or younger. Aha. Now, however, the language, the NBA's collective bargaining agreement, insists that despite it being, quote, sometimes reported that the over 38 rule prevents teams from signing older players to long-term contracts, close quote, this is actually incorrect. Teams are not prevented from signing longer contracts. The over 38 rule simply removes the incentives from doing so. All right, so look, there are obscure rules that we're talking about here, but you have to ask yourself, how many players 38 years of age or older are effective in extending their careers to 40, 41, 42? I don't know. We haven't seen a lot of that in the NBA. And we see Mr. James has been around for a long time because he basically went from high school into what? Into the NBA. But now we don't even have that rule anymore. Now you've got a one-and-done rule, which is wrecking college basketball. And look at it this way. If a player is old enough to vote, old enough to fight for their country, old enough to sign a contract, right, all 18 years of age or older, then they should be able to go play professional sports. That makes all the sense in the world. So the idea of having this rule, you got to be 19 years of age. Well, what about this double the age thing at 38? All right, so why do we even have special rules? Look, if you could play You can play. It doesn't matter how old you are. And if you're at least 18, you should be able to play in the NBA, period. It doesn't matter if maybe they get bounced around because, hey, they feel they're strong enough. Look at guys like Moses Malone. He played. Look at Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett had a very successful career in the NBA. And you know what? Kevin was a good guy. Kevin Garnett kept his mouth shut, didn't cause any trouble, came out of Farragut High School in Chicago, out of South Side Chicago. And Kevin Garnett did very, very well in the NBA. And honestly, he was a role model for this whole thing. Look, even Kobe Bryant, the same thing, 18 years of age, Kobe went into the league. Kobe didn't cause any trouble in the league. He just didn't seem to play a lot of defense. But end of day, all I'm saying is these rules are ridiculous at best. Why don't they just leave this stuff alone? If you're 18, you could play. It doesn't matter what this over 38 crap is. Get rid of that stuff and make this guy sign a regular contract like everybody else without all these extra BS exceptions. Back in a few. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today. Simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi Code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Big welcome back to everybody watching on television, everybody listening on the radio. Pick your favorite affiliate. Also, for everybody that's listening and or watching, make sure you head on over to thesportscircus.com and check out our upcoming guest list. We've got a wonderful guest list that, wow, it expands all the way down. Better yet, it spans all the way down from the very beginning of the show to some of the greatest names in sports and entertainment. In fact, we've got a really good guest coming up, a very accomplished, legendary guest, and that is the front man and lead guitarist for Blue Oyster Cult, and that's Buck Dharma. Of course, an enormous round of applause for Buck. And in case you've been living under a rock, those guys have been around since, let's see, Buck's been in the rodeo since 1967, and Blue Oyster Cult's been around since 1971, if I'm not mistaken, and they're still touring. They still sound great, and they're still doing it. Matter of fact, we might even debut one of Buck's new singles on the show as well. That's pretty exciting, so check it out. That's Buck Dharma from Blue Oyster Cult on the Sports Circus, and who knows where it's going to go. Remember, this is sports. It is music. It's film. It's business, science. We were just a sports show on a Saturday morning way back in the day. And then once they said at our local affiliate, well, you're not good enough. You're never going to amount to anything. Well, all we did was we turned up the gas and we got bigger and crazier and we expanded, added stations. Even Elvis's first station, WHBQ, that was the first one we expanded to and then moved on from there over to Honolulu and to Los Angeles and Buffalo, New York, and Toronto, and all kinds of places down in Phoenix, KDUS, all kinds of stations all over the place, just when we were told by the alleged executives at the local affiliate here to be nameless. We don't want to beat them up too bad. But guess what? Here's the funny thing. We ended up, after our first contract, we ended up expanding. When they said that we couldn't, they said, you're going to be stuck on Saturday mornings, so that's all you're good at. Well, ironically, right after that 6-month agreement, when we finished, we were asked by SB Nation to go 5 o'clock Monday through Friday, of course, right here in Las Vegas. But yet we weren't good enough to do that on a regular basis, even on an off hour, on the other affiliates. Imagine that. And then after a month, they asked us to go on to the national. So apparently we really must have stunk for that to happen. But anyway, it's been a lot of fun, a lot of fun so far. And we don't fix things. We'll have weird sounds in the middle of the show. We'll have an occasional cough or a throat clear or something. We don't edit things out because we don't have to do that. People aren't worried about that. It's kind of like when you're going to a meeting. Think about this, folks. For all you people that are maybe driving home from work or driving to work, because we're on different hours and different times of the day. Like in Atlanta, we're on at 8 a.m., and over in Honolulu, we're on at 3 p.m., for example. And in Alabama, we're on at, in Auburn, I think we're on at 6 p.m. if we're not preempted by the Atlanta Braves games, and so forth and so on. Different markets, different times, LA 5 p.m., whatever. The reality is this. When you go into a meeting, are you worried about impressing the other people with what you're wearing, or do the people really want to hear about what you bring to the table? Right? So that's how you have to look at this with this show. Look, we're rushing up on 2,000 shows. That's a lot of shows. And that's over 8 years. And the reality is this. People tune in not because we don't make mistakes. We always make mistakes. Who gives a damn? But it's fun. It's real. And that's what the guests like, because you never know where the hell it's going to go. I don't know where we're going to go with Buck, except for the fact that we have great music from him and his band over the years and years and years. But the reality is, it doesn't matter who it's been, whether it's Lee Steinberg or astronaut. We've had astronauts on here. We've had, Roy Firestone's been on here. Rick Barry's been on here. Mario Andretti has been on here. Herschel Walker's been on here. Philip Bailey from Earth, Wind, and Fire, the lead singer there, he's been on here, and so forth and so on. Even Jeff Hoffman, billionaire Jeff Hoffman, is the founder of Priceline.com, plus all these others. Look, they've all been here, and it's fun. It's different. We've had people sing on here. We've had people dance on television on here. Crazy things have happened. Well, guess what? That's just what we do. It's the same way where people want to be entertained. by this show. Well, they also want to be entertained where? Oh, that's right, at the Home Run Derby. Now, in baseball, do you actually believe that the Home Run Derby is 100% on the up and up? Does it really matter? I don't really think it matters. You know why? Because the people that go to All-Star Game festivities, when they go to Home Run Derby, they want to see the longest possible home runs hit. They want to see the 500-footers and so forth. And they want to see that ball fly out of the yard often. And so the reality is this. Now, Major League Baseball, and Rob Manfred, of course, in his doings, they use a updated, we'll say, baseball for Home Run Derby specifically. In case you didn't know that, it's more like, in my opinion, it's kind of like a golf ball. So the ball flies out of the yard a hell of a lot more. And a lot of players choose to opt out of the Home Run Derby for a lot of reasons. Because number one, it messes with their swing that they've had during the regular season. And number two, it's unrealistic results. You know, you're getting batting practice and you're hitting the ball 450, 500 feet, whatever the hell it is. It's for the entertainment of the fans to catch the lucky ball and all this other crap. And it's fun. It is fun. But it's not realistic to the people that know baseball. But this is for entertainment purposes only. It's kind of like gambling in Las Vegas. It's for entertainment purposes only. And when they say paper or plastic at the casinos, they're talking about paper money or plastic. It's actually plastic over clay. That's what the casino chips are. So the reality is, this is for entertainment. And when we look at the baseball, and we say who's going to participate in the Home Run Derby, well, it looks like Gunnar Henderson has said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And he's in his second year, and Gunnar is his first full year. He's a very good player for the Baltimore Orioles. In fact, we'll even give him a round of applause. And Gunnar's one of those guys that can hit for power. I mean, he hit 28 home runs last year. He's going to probably hit 40 this year. But then again, in my opinion, they're using a juice baseball. It's wound a little bit tighter than baseballs of the past. When Mickey Mantle hit his 500-plus foot home run, he was hitting a beanbag. When Babe Ruth was hitting home runs, he was hitting a beanbag. And they say, well, the pitching wasn't as good. Well, they say that, but the baseball wasn't nearly as good either. What would a guy like George Herman Ruth do in today's time with today's baseball? I don't know. Would Mickey Mantle hit a 600-foot home run? I don't know. But again, the Home Run Derby is upon us. And along with Gunnar Henderson, I believe is going to be Yordan Alvarez. And I'll be very interested to see Yordan Alvarez. Got a whole bunch of his rookie baseball cards, right? That's good stuff. A lot of those. And he's one of those guys that hits moonshots for the Houston Astros. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's a juice baseball or not. This guy will still hit moonshots anyway. So I'd like to see him. And I think he's going to participate. But other guys we'd kind of like to see in there. I think we would like as a group to see Adolis Garcia with the world champion Texas Rangers. I think Adolis Garcia would be a lot of fun to watch in the Home Run Derby. I mean, a lot of people, of course, want to see Ohtani. And Ohtani, I mean, let's face it, he wouldn't have to face any low and outside pitches or anything up and in, so he wouldn't either pop the ball straight in the air or strike out with his ass sticking way out. It looks kind of funny when he strikes out on an outside pitch. But we're not going to see guys like Ohtani participate in the Home Run Derby, which I'd really like to see it. But there are some other guys that, you know, maybe I would like to see Ellie De La Cruz, because Ellie's one of those guys. He's a five-tool player. You know, we talk about five-tool players on the show, and Ellie can do it all. Playing for the Cincinnati Reds, the guy has a great arm. He's throwing nearly 100 miles an hour from shortstop to first base. The last guy I saw that had a great arm like that was Sean Dunston, who was a bust for the Chicago Cubs, if you know what I mean. But anyway, Ellie's got a great arm. The guy, he could steal 100 bases. He just got to hit better for contact, and he's got to strike out a little bit less. He'll probably have 80 or 90 stolen bases this year. And the guy is very, very, very fast, right? And so he's got a great arm. He's got speed. What else does he have? Oh, that's right. He hits for power. And he hits, well, I can't say he hits for average, but he can. But this is a five-tool player. The guy's got the arm, the speed, the glove. This guy's got an incredible glove. And guess what? He plays one of the toughest positions in baseball at shortstop. But this kid could do it. I would love to see Ellie hit 500-foot home runs in the Home Run Derby. Of course, that would drive up the rookie baseball cards, if you know what I mean, for Ellie. I've got a few of those. But there are some other guys that we'd like to see in there as well. Of course, we always want to see, you know, the Titan Pete Alonso hit his share of 480-foot bombs as well. I think a lot of people would like to see that. Pete Alonso is one of those guys that can compete every year, and people would love to see it. And who else is really out there? Well, Lewis Robert, we'd like to see him get another shot at it because he didn't have a good showing last year. But there are some other guys that we'd also like to see. Maybe Matt Olson. I'd like to see Matt Olson get a shot. And I don't know. Pick your favorite guy. Who would you like to see compete in the home run derby? Even Paul Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt can really land those out there, 450, 480-foot bombs left and right. And, of course, everybody wants to see Aaron Judge, but I don't think Aaron Judge is going to do it. Maybe give a second round to Giancarlo Stanton because he may not be around too much longer. But I don't know. I mean, Rafi Devers would be another one of those guys that we'd like to see in the home run derby. So, folks, you know what? If you want to participate in this conversation, give us a call, 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935. Tell us who you want to see in the home run derby. And, of course, we'll go ahead and forward that right over to Rob Manfred, if you know what I mean. And maybe somebody would listen over there, the commissioner's office. But, look, it's a fun event. And I think people now, because the All-Star game isn't worth anything, it doesn't matter anymore. And now you've got this player sitting out, which you kind of had that for decades. But the home run derby is the only thing that really matters for nothing, but it's probably the most fun in the entire baseball season for people to watch. But the announcers need to do a better job. They really do. Because Chris Berman used to get excited about the home runs, but the problem is there's so many home runs now, he can only back so many times before you're like, oh yeah, I've heard this song before. Right, he can give so many nicknames to players, but now you're going to have 30 pitches or 40 pitches or 3 minutes, whichever comes first. Then you have rounds of elimination and all this other stuff. But the home run derby is my favorite thing to watch in the baseball season, besides, of course, the playoffs and the World Series. And look, I'm a former pitcher, and I like 1-0 games and 2-1 games and that kind of thing. But all bets are off when it comes to the home run derby. And I'll be very interested to see what Yordan Alvarez does, because he could actually hit a 500-foot Titanic blast. Now, that would be very, very exciting. And you know what? If he did it, he should say, "Show me the money!" Oh, yeah, because it would be bombs left, right, and center. Bombs away! That's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We'll see you in about 23 hours on your favorite station right here. Until then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.